All right, what's up, anybody who is catching this video on demand? Because right now there's nobody watching like there always is whenever you first start, so it's always awkward. But this is going to be a little preview show for UFC 229, right? 229?
Yeah.
And joining me is Mike Merriman from podcasts, mostly. Like you only have horror podcasts, right?
I have Theme Warriors, which is kind of like all movies. There's that, but I mean, it's mainly horror podcasting. So,
and Evil Episodes is retired, so you have something new coming though.
Officially, I've been kind of like sharing it with some fellow podcasters. I haven't officially announced anything yet, so I guess I'll refrain. I mean, if you know me on Twitter, I just converted my Twitter account over. So if you're really curious, you can kind of seek me out on Twitter. The Evil Episodes group page will be converting over soon. I was kind of flirting with the idea of just keeping the page and creating like a whole new one, but I was like, no, there's no point in that because if I'm a podcast, it doesn't need to be there. So, the new show will be on Horophilia. So anyone who listen to Evil Episodes, they're going to be able to find the new show pretty easily. It's going to show up on the main feed. So that's the first episode is recording sometime next week. So we're looking about maybe a week and a half for the first episode to drop.
All right, cool. So check out Mike's new show when it drops. And also joining me is Mr. C-Level Luis. What's up, dude? You haven't done MMA in a while. What's going on?
It's been a while. I stay on my YouTube and Instagram mostly. Letterboxd. But
yeah, Letterboxd is what's up. But you have a podcast too. It's a horror podcast. You're very infrequent with episodes, which
very influential though.
Influential? I don't know about that. But
yeah, it's fact.
But yeah, we are here to talk this huge event that sort of has a little bit of an underwhelming buzz. It's starting to pick up a bit, but to me, I haven't, and we've discussed this in chat and stuff. It feels as if because it was announced so recently that the buzz hasn't built up. Are you guys seeing buzz now? What's going on?
I would kind of agree with you. I think it's because this fight, to me, it was really anticipated before Mayweather went off to box Mayweather, or excuse me, McGregor went off to box Mayweather. There was kind of like the rumors that this was kind of what was next for McGregor, possibly. And then, he did his thing in boxing, and I honestly did not think this was going to be his first fight back, just because of like scheduling and because of how big of a fight potentially it was. I definitely didn't think it was going to be such short notice where it's like I think I was talking to you in the past couple of days where it was like they announced it. And the next thing I know, I'm waking up and I'm like, it's this Saturday. Oh my God. Like it doesn't feel like it's had that, 3-4 month buildup that you usually get for something they're calling like, I mean, of course they're labeling it biggest fight ever. And numbers wise, it might happen because you never know at the last minute what's going to happen. But yeah, I don't know if it's underwhelming or it just feels like it because of how quickly it came together for a super fight like this.
What do you think, Luis? Do you think there's a buzz out there that there normally is for a big McGregor fight?
It's not the normal buzz just because there hasn't been a build-up. Conor didn't want to do a tour like he has been doing. So
yeah, there was the one press conference, and that actually makes a lot of sense. I didn't even think of that. Yeah, there was no major tour or even just interviews. There was barely any type of that going on, and I forgot that he's doing the like sort of Rousey blackout thing, but maybe not to the extent that she did. Which is do you think that matters though? Do you think at this point Conor can do that and still deliver massive numbers, or do you think if there was more press it would do a lot better?
I think in the past he's almost had to prove that he can, and now he and the UFC knows that he can put up these numbers without having to do the world tour thing.
Yeah, and he's worked hard to get to that point because he was a promoting machine, you know, back on his rise. So yeah, hopefully he's kind of sort of, you know, been able to keep that luster even without doing as much press. But I kind of, what's that, Mike?
I was gonna say, I mean, if anything, I would assume that UFC is banking on the McGregor brand because I mean, really, McGregor's almost become a brand of his own outside of just UFC itself. It's like there's UFC, and of course, McGregor's under the UFC banner, but because he's gone outside of UFC and boxed Mayweather, which was a huge event, I think
like under McGregor Promotions, you know what I mean?
I think they're banking on his name value. He's built his name and brand that just the fact that he's fighting, almost like Rousey, where like just for the fact that he's fighting, it's gonna get the numbers, and then hope they get the extra that comes with it because Khabib's another international fighter that's gonna bring his international fans. So
I think the key is proper 12 Irish whiskey. That is the selling point to this event.
It was such a great advertisement for that.
It was. I want to try this whiskey just to see what it's like.
Is it widely available yet?
Well, I just looked at it I just typed it on Google, and this place is having it for $19.99. That seems a little fishy to me. But do you think this will? What's that?
Like, is it actually like an online alcohol distributor?
I'm not sure. It's from Shop SK, is what I'm seeing. So I'm not sure if it's. I don't even know the legalities of buying alcohol online. Honestly, I'm sure it has to be kind of.
I think it goes. It's probably state by state.
Yeah. All right. So speaking of alcohol, I do have a little drink here for the occasion. Are you drinking?
I'll be refilling it soon because I'm in my garage and my garage fridge right next to me. So once I finish this beer, I got a ton of different beers in there. I'll probably put that up on the camera when I get a refill.
Now, do you guys think this is going to be the biggest UFC event of all time? Is it going to break the record? What is the record, by the way? Is it McGregor? Or is it Lesnar?
McGregor or Brock, right? One of those two.
Yeah.
Conor, yeah.
Was it Conor Diaz?
I think it might have been the second one.
Conor Diaz, too.
Yeah. Might have to do a Google search on that.
Yeah, find that out. Also post this in Droogs if you can, just in case anybody's in there and wants to watch. So one cool thing.
Why wouldn't they want to watch, right?
Right, exactly. One thing that is not so cool that happened, and this is before we sort of get into the event, is that we got the announcement for UFC 230, the main event. So it was speculated that it was going to be Jones, Cormier, Jones, Gustafsson, Jones, anybody. It was also speculated that it could be for the 165-pound title that has yet to be created with Diaz and Poirier. There was all sorts of speculation, but nobody, and I repeat, nobody speculated that it would be Sazar Eubanks taking on Valentina Shevchenko, especially considering Valentina Shevchenko had a fight for UFC, I think 231 or 232 against Yoni and Jacek. So not only did they take a fight that existed, they lessened it by changing the opponent to a maybe not less viable, tough opponent, but a less named opponent in somebody who is barely known. I believe Joe Rogan was quoted saying he doesn't even know who Sazar Eubanks is, which says something. And that's your main event for UFC 230. Thoughts on that?
Anybody? I was excited when Shevchenko and Johanna was announced as a fight. They have the history from, is it a Muay Thai or kickboxing that they faced off against each other?
They faced off in, I want to say Muay Thai.
Yeah, I think 2 fights.
Four fights, right?
Oh, 4? Dang.
4?
So they got the history and they're both bangers. So it's like, personally, I think Shevchenko would win, even in MMA too. But there's little doubt that would be an exciting fight. So I'm kind of disappointed that wouldn't happen. I wasn't very familiar with the opponent they ended up giving Shevchenko either.
I do know her because I did watch the season of The Ultimate Fighter on that she was on, and yes, she actually did look like the best fighter on the show. She has a deceiving 3-2 record, but she seems to have improved greatly since those fights, and she's a lot bigger than most 125ers. In fact, the reason that she is not the first champion is because she missed weight. So she was going to fight Nico Montano for the title, and she had failed making weight, was hospitalized. Roxanne Modafferi steps in, gets the title shot. Nico Montano wins. We know how that all played out with Shevchenko. So technically, yes, this would probably be the fight that would end up of happening originally. It's just unfortunate that there is no name and nobody really knows who that is. I mean, it was on an FS1 show where the new champion was crowned, being Nico Montano. And I mean, this division has just got off to such a rocky start. And honestly, Sijara Eubanks is probably a competitive fight against Shevchenko. Like, she could probably win the fight against Valentina. But it's just an odd main event choice. First of all, it should never be a main event. It should be a co-main event or on a FS1 card or a Fox card. It's just insane that this is the main event. On the other hand, the UFC has often been criticized for going and doing something radical, like creating, like if they would have created the 165-pound division because they didn't have anything to plug in there, they would have been almost criticized for that. Maybe not because it's Nate Diaz and people he's this fan favorite, but if it was anything else, like another interim title or something, the UFC would get criticized for it. So they actually do something that's more sport friendly, as in like actually just put a division championship, title on the line as the main event. But they're also being criticized for this. So I could kind of see how they lose anything they do in this situation. And, whether it was Jones or Cormier, they would have got backlash for it. At least this is like true to the sport. It's not true to fans. It's like how it's almost like you're taking away from Diaz Poirier by putting them in the co-main at this point under this, because people are going to look at this card, they're going to see these two fighters, and they're immediately going to skip it and maybe even forget that Diaz and Poirier are on this card. I personally wish they would have made the 165-pound title, but I kind of get where they're coming from. Yeah, super fighter division. That's how I knew it was fake. As soon as I read Nate Diaz welcomes the super fighter division, I read it, I was like, that, what the fuck? I was like, there's no way they're calling it that. That sounds like something Diaz just came up with. But yeah, so I mean, the main event is this going to be the like lowest selling card ever?
Nah.
I mean, in modern era, obviously before the dark ages and stuff like that.
So we know you're not a fan of that time period, JP, and you're a little bit of a newbie.
Yeah.
But there have been some really low cards in modern times.
Well, the watermark for the UFC was 100,000, right? Like there was no way they were selling under 100,000 anytime. It used to be 300,000, but then a couple Mighty Mouse cards went under that. So like the watermark now is like 100,000 pay-per-view buys. Does this do under that?
I have to look at the rest of the card. I haven't seen. I mean, how's the strength of the rest of the card? Any good?
It's a good card. I think you have Rockhold and Weidman on there.
Okay.
Let's actually take a look at it real quick. But
it's gonna do good. A fucking Punk did big numbers and he wasn't in the main event.
Yeah, but that's a name though. You know what I mean?
Diaz is a name. Just through McGregor.
Oh yeah, you're right. Yeah, Diaz is his name before McGregor, but even more so with McGregor. And also we do have a couple of commenters. We have Ryan Ryan Dog in the chat saying, "What's up, JP? He said the Khabib interview at the open workouts was pretty good. Shevchenko was going to fight someone else. Forgot the name. Yeah, it was the NJ check. Who do you want to win, Conor or Khabib? We will get to that in a second, bro. He wants Khabib and Tony Ferguson, and he said go Weidman. So if you guys want to ask anything, hop in the chat.
By the way, that number one pay-per-view was Diaz McGregor 2 with 1.6 million.
I feel like that is a really good event. Diaz McGregor. If you would have asked me if this fight would do that kind of numbers before I heard people talk about it, I would say no. I didn't know Khabib really had that big of a following, honestly. And I didn't think that casuals really knew who Khabib was. So that's why I'm kind of surprised a little bit.
Marketing power. And I think that bus incident kind of helped.
Yeah.
I mean, because when that bus incident first happened, you know, it was kind of like we want to keep it under wraps, but they couldn't. And now they're using it in the promos. So it's like, I'm sure that's helped because like anytime.
Well, I always think of Jones Cormier.
Yeah.
Like that marketing when they showed Jones the hit and run and all that. I thought that was some genius marketing that they did there. And it made me want to see the fight. I think it made a lot of people want to see DC win and they champion DC. And then, you know, because they vilified Jones, which he pretty much did himself, so you can't really hate him for it. But that's what the Dolly incident reminded me of. What are you laughing at?
No.
So to UFC 230, though, to go back to that a little bit.
All right.
I am so bummed they didn't do the 65-pound division. I don't know why they won't do it. Is it just the UFC's stubbornness that be like, well, you're not gonna control how we do this, Nate Diaz?
I mean,
the weight class.
What's that?
I think the weight class issues is something that needs to be worked out, fleshed out.
Listen, if there's one place to sandwich a division in, it's between welterweight and lightweight. Like those are the two best divisions. And 165, you can take 10 fighters from welterweight, 10 fighters from lightweight, and still have a competitive division on both sides. It might take a year to fill back up, but it 100% will still be competitive on both ends. And it adds to all kind of interesting situational fights that you normally wouldn't have got. You know what I mean? Like a lot of lightweights fighting welterweights that you wouldn't have got otherwise. It brings so much fresh blood, and it unclogs two divisions that are relatively clogged. Like they are always clogged. At least it kind of gives a little bit more leadway to sort of have other things going on. And, you know, some fighters, if they're waiting at welterweight, they could be like, fuck this, I'll go down to 65 to get a little bit, you know, chance of getting a title shot and things like that. I think it's a win-win-win. It just doesn't. I don't see no downside to it. And obviously, you would have to move 170 to 175. That would be the new welterweight.
Every 10 pounds.
I think more weight divisions offers more options, and ultimately, that's a good thing.
And if you're the UFC, why wouldn't you want more titles you can plug into cards? You're struggling right now to fill out pay-per-views. Why would you? I mean, now, if you don't have two title fights on a pay-per-view, it doesn't feel as exciting as it could. You know what I mean? Hell, they did 3 title fights. They've done more 3 title fight cards in the past 2 years than they have in the entire history of the company. Because there was one before that, before the ones they've been doing. It was that one really bad UFC that had 3 title fights with Tito on it.
What?
There was a bad UFC event that had 3 title fights back in the day. It had Tito on it. He defended one of them, I think. You remember what I'm talking about?
I feel like I should. Pat Mills would have been champion, right?
Yeah, I think so. You're supposed to be the guys who know the old school. Yeah, I know more than you. What's going on here?
That's dark age shit, though.
Yeah. I think it was when the UFC was bought out. It was like right at the beginning. Anyway, what's all on 230 though? What the biggest sucky thing is that Diaz Poirier is going to be a 3-rounder now.
Yeah.
That kind of sucks, right?
Especially for Nate, because he's designed for that 5 rounds.
Yeah. All right, so what do we got here? We have Valentina Shevchenko to Jara Eubanks, Dustin Poirier, Nate Diaz, Luke Rockhold, Chris Weidman, Jacare versus David Branch, Derek Brunson versus Israel Adesanya, Lyman Good. He's in the UFC?
He's
Versus Sultan Olive, Lando Venata. He had a good fight against Ferguson versus Matt Fravala. Then a couple other no-namers, but yeah. So I mean, the Jason Knight's on the card too, but as you go down the list, you know there's like the main card is great. It's a good main card. You got Poirier Diaz, you got Luke Rockhold Weidman too, Jacare versus David Branch, and Derek Brunson's on there too. So I mean, it's a good card. It's just
So
a weird main
basically
event.
when they show the countdown show, it's gonna be like, we got Diaz versus Poirier for 20 minutes of the 30 minutes. Oh yeah, and Shevchenko's fighting on this card too.
Exactly. Yeah, they're definitely going to focus on Diaz Poirier. I would be like that. I honestly, like, I wouldn't put it past Nate to not even fight. Honestly, like, he seemed very down on the idea of like playing second fiddle to McGregor and Khabib, let alone to Shevchenko versus Eubanks. Like, I think he's going to be mad.
He tweeted, "I'll be back."
What did he say?
He tweeted, "I'll be back."
I'd be back.
Something like that. It just gives no fucks, man.
I know. So, anyway, that's 230. That's something. That's a weird thing. I still am really excited for Poirier Diaz though. That's going to be a good fight.
Yeah, I mean, I actually think the card is pretty solid. It's just the main event itself is probably a little like lesser than you would expect on a card like this. But if you look up and down the card, I think it still has the potential to be a very entertaining show.
I think that the problem with the main event is that it's literally probably the worst main event you could come up with in terms of title fights. Like, if you go down the list of every champion and pair them up with anybody, really, this is like the worst setup ever.
Yeah, and I think there was that buzz and excitement about the possible Shevchenko Johanna fight, and then like
I would be more accepting if that was the main event. Because that's a fight that's interesting to me. I do think that Shevchenko would win that fight, but because she's like 3-0 against Jędrzejczyk in Muay Thai. She's bigger. Jędrzejczyk hasn't really looked that great since she lost to Rose. So, I mean, she did fight somebody recently and look good.
Tisha Torres.
Was it Tisha?
Yeah.
Yeah, but you know, that would have been an intriguing fight because it's almost like a super fight of sorts, right? It's like somebody who you think would be the champion 125 versus the former champion of 115.
Who's that new killer, that Brazilian killer at 115 that's probably gonna knock Rose's head off?
Tatiana Suarez.
Is that who it was where she just like TKO'd that chick? Like
Carla Esparza.
She's not Brazilian. Tatiana, she's not Brazilian.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but I followed Tatiana from The Ultimate Fighter. She won a season of The Ultimate Fighter a couple seasons ago. She was really good on there. I thought she was going to be something. I kind of likened her to Robert Whittaker, where when I watched this Tough Smashes, I was like, I think this guy's going to do work in the UFC. And it took him a little while, but he got there. But all right, so let's look at actually UFC 229 then. The main event, of course, is Conor versus Khabib. And for whatever reason, you guys love to doubt Conor's history. You guys love to doubt his ability. You guys love to doubt his everything. And you guys think that Khabib is going to smash him, right? Both of you guys?
But you just don't give a fuck. I wouldn't, you know, I'm not discounting Conor. I I mean, it's a lot to get it. I would say matchup wise, I think Conor excels at what the holes in McGregor's game are. But I mean, I think Conor has the potential. Like the big wild card in this fight is what happens if Conor touches up Khabib on the chin. Because like even if you don't have a weak chin and you have a somewhat solid chin, if McGregor connects enough, you're getting KO'd. Like that's just I don't see any fighter in those divisions except Diaz, but their chins are like legendary. But like, you know, your normal fighter, if Conor, you know, measures you and his footwork's on point and he lands on you, I don't think Khabib is gonna survive that storm. But I mean, I think Khabib's camp understands that too, and they're going to play it safe and look for the takedown. And I think McGregor, he might have success early stopping the takedowns, but it's one of those things where like Khabib is such a wizard on the ground. It's like, unlike a fighter like Diaz, where I think the Diaz brothers' jiu-jitsu is really good, but oftentimes in fights they almost forego it on purpose because they just want to have a stand-up war just because. I don't think Khabib's going to have that strategy. I think he knows his bread and butter is take him down, you know, have your way with him on the ground and put him out. I don't think he's going to mess around the way the Diaz brothers do. He's not going to spend 2 to 3 rounds standing up trying to box just because. He's not going to do any Stockton slaps. So
here's the thing though. All right. And I think a lot of people don't remember this or forget this or ignore it or just don't notice it. So everybody does like to talk about the holes that Conor has because we've seen some holes in his game, and one of the things that people bring up is the wrestling. And you look back and you look at, okay, what evidence do we have of this? Well, Chad Mendes was able to take him down, and you know, he didn't do a ton, but he did do some damage, and Conor weathered it. Chad gassed, according to not being full camp. And then the only other example of this we saw was Nate Diaz. Now, the thing with Diaz, though, that's different from Mendes is Diaz didn't take Conor down. Conor was rocked and shot in for a sloppy takedown and got choked out. So the only other example of wrestling we have from Conor is the Eddie Alvarez fight. And a lot of people don't pay attention to the Eddie Alvarez fight. I've rewatched it recently. Watched the tape on the Eddie Alvarez fight. Eddie shot for multiple takedowns in that fight, and Conor stuffed him. Now, Eddie was rocked once during one of those takedowns, so that, you know, see it coming. But I think Conor's wrestling game is a little bit better than people like to give him credit for. And granted, Khabib's is a lot better than Eddie Alvarez's. But Eddie Alvarez is by no means a bad wrestler either. He's really good. And he wasn't able to take Conor down, and he tried. And also, Conor, watch that Eddie Alvarez fight. He fought that fight absolutely perfect. And some people like to say that Eddie fell into his game. Not really. Conor was just way faster than him, and he was way more precise than Eddie. Watch that fight again. Conor is moving backwards and landing cleanly and rocking Eddie. It's actually really impressive. And I think that this fight is going to look like that fight. He's going to play his distance game. He's going to have a wide stance. He's going to put his paw out there like he does. He's going to mess with Khabib with the distance, and then he's going to catch Khabib coming in. He might even stuff a takedown. All right? Cuz Ali Quinta didn't get taken down every time that Khabib tried either. And if Khabib fights the way that he fought against Al, Conor 100% wins, because Conor will knock out Khabib in that situation that Ali Quinta was in, because he hits a lot harder. And what my biggest takeaway from the Khabib Ali Quinta fight was that Khabib could not finish him. He could not finish Ali Quinta, and Conor's a lot harder to beat than Ali Quinta. So I don't know how if Ali Quinta can survive all those rounds and get back and have that many chances. That's the thing. Ali Quinta had so many chances to be on the feet with Khabib that if Khabib allows that many instances where they're on their feet in a 5-round fight, he's not going to last the fight with Conor. And that's sort of my breakdown of it. And Luis, you're going to owe me a Blu-ray, homie.
Nah, there's a one on. If Khabib wins, JP has to give me a Blu-ray or buy me a Blu-ray, and vice versa if Conor wins.
Yeah. So you owe me a Blu-ray.
That's not gonna happen.
Come on, my breakdown was money right there. It was money.
No, it
Listen,
was
watch Eddie Alvarez, Conor.
Well, wouldn't you say Conor? He's a counter puncher. His striking. If you look at Eddie Alvarez's fight, if you look at the Diaz fight, his best striking usually is, and even like a fight like the Aldo fight, his best fight or his best KOs or just striking is when his opponent comes charging in trying to strike and he times.
Yeah, they overcommit a little bit.
I don't think to be looking to like go to war with him. That doesn't mean he won't get caught coming in, because I think Khabib is going to have to eat, some jabs or even like hooks or haymaker or two. He's going to have to survive that to get Conor down. That's almost a given, because I think Conor, is obviously training to stuff those takedowns or time them. I'm sure they're watching so much tape of how he shoots in to where when he shoots in, he's going to, because he makes no secret about it. His biggest thing is timing. He says it beats everything. It beats speed. It beats anything as a
power. Yeah.
Time perfect. So I think Conor, that's his goal, is I want to know exactly how Khabib, his technique is for getting takedowns so I can time it coming in. So Khabib's getting touched with punches one way or the other. It's whether those punches, rock him enough before he gets Conor wrapped up to where, the takedown doesn't happen or he gets successfully stuffed. I think this fight gets very interesting if it hits like the 3rd round and beyond, because, that at that point, it's probably where both guys tried for whatever they were initially trying to do, and it's not successful. And what do they do from there? Who has the better plan B? Who makes the adjustments? Whose corner is picking up things or tendencies from the other fighter? So, I really hope, and this isn't anything against Conor because he has the capability of it. I just don't want to see a flash KO where like Khabib shoots in and it's like a perfectly timed punch. I would respect it because that's an accomplishment if he does it. I just don't like fights that end in 10 seconds on a flash KO, just because like there's all.
I mean, yeah, it is frustrating because you don't like. It does feel, even though it's not lucky, it does feel more lucky than a fight that has lasted a couple minutes and you get to see more of it play out, and I know the Jose Aldo fight, I do believe Conor tried to do exactly what he did, but it does feel like there was some unfinished business there with that. The thing, so also with this fight, Khabib and Conor, like you look at Conor's worst performance, and it's probably against Nate Diaz the first time, and he was winning that fight 100%. But where he went wrong is that Diaz can take punishment way more than any of the past opponents that Conor has fought, and the fact that it was at 170 and not 155. So Diaz is a little stronger, and he gassed, and Diaz doesn't gas at all. So Diaz started pouring it on. We've seen him do that before. I think Michael Johnson comes to mind, where he just took over the fight at a certain point, and it was just curtains from there. And one thing that doesn't help Khabib is that they are both like that. Like, he's not going to do the Diaz thing where Conor will eventually gas out Because how does Khabib is not going to knock Conor out, so he's going to submit him, right? That's how he wins the fight.
Overhand right by KO. You're calling it right now.
So I wouldn't put it past, like, if Khabib can like ragdoll him for like a round or two, I wouldn't put it past like ground and pound knocking
TKO, yeah.
But just because like he wears him out to where he can't defend himself anymore, like that style of a KO. I don't like, if you asked me to pick how Khabib would win, I wouldn't pick that, but I see that as like an outside chance just because of the potential of once he had, like, if he get, like, say he gets McGregor on the ground at the beginning of a round and he has like a, you know, like a tight ass body triangle on him, I don't see how McGregor's getting out of that just because of Khabib's like not just elite but like all world.
Here's the thing, and this is the big thing, right? Will Khabib let's say he gets McGregor down a minute into the fight, he has back, let's say he gets back control and gets the body triangle in. He has to finish that fight with a rear naked choke or something right there, because within those 4 minutes, because then the fight starts on the feet again. You know what I mean? So it's every time that the fight is starting on the feet, Khabib is at a severe disadvantage. And I think if Khabib wins, it's from a rear naked choke. I could see Conor just leaving his neck out and not defending properly and getting rear naked choked. I think most of his losses are from rear naked chokes, right? Was Diaz rear naked choke?
Yeah.
And then his fight in the Joe Duffy fight was a rear naked choke, right?
I think so.
Yeah, I mean, the first Diaz fight, he almost could have kind of TKO'd him, but McGregor gave up his neck because he was like gassed.
Well, he had him in mount, and he was, about to finish him, and Conor rolled over.
Yeah,
which is just a pure panic thing. Conor was clearly panicked at that whole. That's why he shot for the takedown. So it's, that was definitely his worst performance. But I think a lot of people also don't give credit to how he bounced back from that. He bounced back amazingly. I actually thought he did beat Diaz in the second fight.
He bounced back and had a great loss to Diaz in the second fight.
No, I thought, listen, I picked Diaz to win the first fight. And I'm on YouTube on record picking Diaz to win the first fight. I knew that was going to happen. The second fight, I picked Conor, and I did think he won. It was a close fight, but I do think he won the fight. I think he did more damage. I think he was more effective throughout the fight. Diaz had better moments, maybe, but throughout the fight as a whole, I thought that Conor won. And here's another thing. This is a big thing, man. Khabib is great, right? 22-0, 24-0, whatever, 26-0. Who has he fought, though?
Everybody.
Nobody's. Look at his Wikipedia page. It's all.
Look at Conor's Wikipedia page. Up until he gets into the UFC, there's no real names.
And okay, and then what happens?
You got fed some fights. Yeah.
Max Holloway.
Yeah.
Chad Mendes. Dustin Poirier.
Thanks, Camp Mendes.
Nate Diaz twice.
Gas Mendes.
Listen, dude, I don't want to hear that because Chad Mendes has fought on short camps before, right? Like no camps. Like
he never has. It's always been full camp who won.
Chad Mendes, I don't buy that fucking Chad Mendes bullshit about because he didn't have a full camp. Fuck that.
Well, I mean, you don't even have to buy it. Just watch the fight. And halfway through the round or second round, he's like huffing and puffing.
He looked in great shape, though. I mean, come on.
Looks can be deceiving.
Just because you're admiring his physique, it doesn't mean
Conor is never in good shape. Conor's always gassing.
That's because he sucks.
Get out of here, dude. Okay, so Chad Mendes, whether it was full camp Mendes or not, I still think Conor wins that fight. And then you got and Mendes was probably on roids too. Just throwing that out there. I'm just throwing that out there because he just came out of suspension. So what's to say he wasn't on roids then?
It was eczema skin cream on his legs.
They did find him in the same size.
It was eczema skin cream. I do know that because it has steroids in it. Yeah, you guys will buy that from Mendez, but when John Jones takes gas station dick pills, you guys are like, oh no, no.
Okay, hold on. Fuck John Jones for a second. Okay, listen. Khabib, if you watch Khabib, because we're going back to Khabib, we're not talking about that fucking guy right now. Khabib will pound the guy out unless they stop.
Ew.
Anybody watch the Michael Johnson fight? He'll keep
watch the Ally Quinta fight
until he gets a spot. If a guy is scrambling, which I think Conor's going to do, he's going to just keep punching him in the face. And I would love for Khabib to do that and just talk to Dana while he's doing it.
I would like that too. I think it would be pretty impressive. I don't think it's going to happen.
Was the Ally Quinta fight? Was that?
But okay, here's the thing though. Who is Michael Johnson really? What has he done?
He knocked out Dustin Poirier
in a flash KO setting, like Mike was talking about.
That was not even a flash, homie.
It was like right away. It was like the first 30 seconds. You're right, though. He did knock out Dustin Poirier. That was a good knockout. But what else has he done?
He beat Tony Ferguson, who's like number 1.
His record is shit, dude. It's like he has like 15 losses or something.
He beat Tony Ferguson and Dustin Poirier.
Wins. Yeah, but Ferguson's was a little. That was Ferguson's like first fight in the UFC or something.
Just so many excuses with this guy.
You think Johnson is a good fighter? Like a great fighter?
He's got quick fucking hands.
Is he a top 10 lightweight?
Michael Johnson?
Yeah.
Yes.
No.
Then he beat Barboza.
He's not a top 10 lightweight. I don't know. But so Khabib has beat Michael Johnson and Ally Quinta. Those are his names.
Rafael dos Anjos.
Rafael dos Anjos. That's his best one. Rafael dos Anjos is his best win. Definitely his best win.
It's gonna be cool.
But that's it, man. He hasn't beat anybody really though. Besides Rafael dos Anjos. That's a good win. But I mean, Rafael is not. To me, he's not that great of a fighter. I didn't think he was a good champion. He beat Anthony Pettis, I guess. That's something. What? What?
There's so much going into this fight, though, that no one talks about, like Conor's layoff. I'm not counting that fucking boxing match.
It's still a fight, though.
2.5 years.
I think a fight is still a fight. You know, it's still going to keep you comfortable. You're not going to have as much ring rust if you were just off that amount of time. It definitely adds some level to it. Yeah, no, you're right. That is definitely a factor. That's a big factor actually. But I think that when you look at because here's another thing that Conor haters love to do is they love to. It's so funny. This is so funny to me. I seen somebody post and they were talking so much shit that Conor had his 2 titles at the press conference, the two titles he was stripped from, and he's like, "My God, I can't believe this fool got these titles and this, that, and the other." And he's like, "This guy's never fucking defended a title. What the hell has he accomplished?" And then I was thinking, like, wait a minute, what's more impressive, right? Is it getting the title from the champion or defending it against somebody who might never be champion? To me, it's beating the guy that has the belt is more impressive, because the defense is against somebody who is not a champion. It's somebody who's it's somebody who's trying to become champion.
Well, Conor's
it's always more impressive to beat the champion than to beat the next guy in line.
I mean,
so Conor's done that twice. Khabib did it to who?
I mean, Conor's never won a belt he didn't want to defend. So
check that out. Conor is a 4-time MMA world champion, 0 defenses.
Yeah, but what's more impressive, one defense or one title win?
Everyone knows defending is the hardest part. That's why there's only been 2 fucking title defenses in the heavyweight division.
No, that doesn't count because that is something else. That's because they're heavyweights. Defending is.
Well, I think
defending is not harder than winning. Michael Bisping has a defense.
More than Conor, believe that shit.
Yeah. But Conor has more title wins.
Saturday, Khabib's gonna have more defenses than Conor. Think about that.
Yeah, but who did he win his belt from?
Raging ally Quinta.
This will be his first. This will be his true belt win if he beats Conor.
Yeah, win.
Because Conor is the champion. He's the lineal champion.
No, he's not.
Of that.
Fuck out of here. Lineal
he is. He is. He's the true UFC champion right now. He is, though. Who has he lost to? Who has he lost to?
Is he also Andy Wang, True Warrior?
Dude, you don't fuck around talking about that guy. That guy's a warrior.
They're going to look at me and be like, Andy Wang, he's a warrior.
Oh, rest in peace.
Is he dead?
No. But...
Oh.
MMA career, though, might be.
Yeah, definitely. Most of those guys are gone. Top 5 guys are gone by now.
Let's talk about Conor fanboys and how much they fucking overhype this guy. There's a mythos around him now. Because
but that's because what he's been able to do is one of the most impressive runs in the history of the UFC.
It's impressive somewhat.
He won 2 titles, bro, against really elite competition. Jose Aldo was unbeatable during that run.
He beat Aldo over the hill.
No, Aldo was not over the hill because he became champion again. You don't become champion again when you're over the hill. Doesn't happen. Never in the history of the UFC has that happened. Never has somebody become over the hill and then won a title. Randy Couture is maybe the one exception because he was started over the hill, but that doesn't count. He started MMA over the hill.
Michael,
but he never won it again. You know what I mean? I don't give a fuck. Michael Bisping has one of the most impressive UFC wins ever.
Yeah.
But so he beat Aldo, and Alvarez is amazing too. Alvarez destroyed Dos Anjos.
Alvarez has a suspect chin because most of his fights, not most of them, but there's a lot of his big fights.
Wait. Has a suspect chin? When has he been knocked out?
Alvarez has been knocked down in so many of his title fights.
Well, he was in so many wars before he got to UFC. So it's
trust me, I've been watching Alvarez for years. I know Alvarez's career. I watched him in Bellator.
Out.
Because what?
Conor dismantled Alvarez. Nobody has made Alvarez look like that. Watch that fight again. Conor wins every single second of that fight.
Tetsuya Kawajiri did, you fuck.
Who the fuck is Kawajiri?
Actually, he beat Gilbert Melendez, but still.
You guys are just Conor deniers. You love to deny his success. Just give him credit. That's all I'm asking for.
Because Alvarez could have fought McGregor the way he fought Pettis and made it a boring as fuck fight, but he didn't.
That's not true. Listen, watch the fight. You'll see Alvarez get frustrated. There's a moment. Conor's grabbing his hand. You'll see the moment that Alvarez is like, fuck this, and got mad, and fucking bull rush Conor got just dropped.
Well,
you can watch that moment because Conor does that to people. He's frustrating to fight. You can't hit him. He's hard. He's hard to hit.
I think at the beginning of Conor's like big run in UFC, his opponents fought him very stupidly because they saw Conor getting all this hype.
Shouldn't that be credited to Conor? Because he makes them do that.
I give Conor credit for winning the fights. You can't take away the fact that he won the fights. I think in a lot of those cases though, his opponents.
Isn't that part of MMA to get your opponent to fight the game that you want to fight?
No, it is. And I think that was part of the early mystique of how he was able to get the jump on these guys. Cause these guys, a lot of his early opponents thought he was all hype. So they went in there thinking, oh, I'm just going to run in there and beat this hype job guy. And they look stupid afterwards. But I think now going forward, like in the last couple of years that, they've seen that, okay, Conor's legit. He's not just hype. I think you're seeing guys train seriously. They're not getting in the ring 1 week, 2 week notice, out of shape. Like, oh, I can still beat him because he's just hype. So I think the division is stronger now. We'll see. I mean, I know I'm not a Conor hater. I just want to make that.
You too. My friends are the biggest of Conor haters.
I think Conor is entertaining. I just think that he's crossed over into that realm where, like Lewis was saying, there's that kind of mystique around him. There's that aura where, like, when you look at like chat threads when he's a subject, or like Instagram for UFC, you see these threads and the way people talk about him, like, damn, settle down. Like, he is good, but you guys make him seem like, you know, he should be on the Mount Rushmore.
Well, he should be close to getting to that point, right? If he wins another title, if he has another 2 or 3 years of impressiveness like he had previously, he would be at that point. He's one of the he's definitely one of the, he should be considered for one of the most important fighters in UFC history right now. You know what I mean? He has brought more eyes, that especially at a lower weight class, right? Because like Brock Lesnar, huge, awesome dude, comes in. That's, I mean, you just look at him and it's like, hey, this guy's going to sell a lot of stuff. And throw in the fact that he had a WWE career that was very successful and a lot of cult following around him. You look at Conor for a 145 pounder, which was a weight class that was too low to even be in the UFC at one point, is pretty impressive. And honestly, like, his resume is great. He has a great resume. Look at his fights, right? Look at everybody he's beat. It's one of the most impressive active resumes in MMA right now. It is. Put up another resume that looks like his and talk about it. You know, talk about another. You're going to eliminate like 90% of the roster for the fact that they don't have 2 title wins right away. You know, you have people like GSP, obviously, but those are GOATs, you know, GSP, Jones, those guys. But who that is not in GOAT consideration has a better resume than Conor right Jones. Now. That is not in GOAT consideration.
John Jones.
Fuck you guys. Who if Conor's not in GOAT consideration, right? Like, if it's like that's so far off, he can't even talk about that right now. Yeah. Who has a better resume than Conor?
I'm trying to look at the opponent list of Cormier because he's put a bunch of wins up, but I have to like actually look at it. Like
Frank Mir, Alexander Gustafsson, Anthony Johnson. Anthony Johnson is his most impressive wins. Cormier's. Yeah. Nobody could figure out how to deal with Johnson, and Cormier did. That's what was really impressive about those 2 wins.
Yeah,
was that nobody knew how to deal with him. Nobody could figure it out up until that point at light heavyweight. And Cormier made him quit twice, which was pretty cool. That's and why I like Cormier now is that he's separated himself from John Jones, because always before, Cormier is never going to impress me because he hadn't really beat Jones. But to go up to heavyweight and to do something that Jones never did, and to win a title up there, solidified him as a true champion, because before he wasn't to me. He was not the true champion because he hadn't beat Jones. Up at heavyweight, there's no argument that he's the true champion up there. That's impressive. And that's why Jones should fight him at heavyweight. It should not be a light heavyweight fight. It should be a heavyweight fight. And if Jones beats him at heavyweight, then 100% Jones is 100% the better fighter every time.
Until something comes out afterwards.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. If he beats Cormier again, we gotta wait a couple months because you know what's coming.
Dude, we had the podcast and I was talking shit about John Jones, and then after the fight, he had his little speech, and I was like, all right, bygones be bygones. I'm cool with John Jones. All that shit, okay, I'm gonna let that go. Mm-hmm. And then what happens? This fucking guy.
What did he do though? He didn't do anything wrong.
He
had a tainted supplement. Damn it. Listen, where he failed the test would make no sense to cheat. Because he passed the pre-fight test. Right? Mm-hmm. The early day test. He failed the one before an hour before the event, and then he passed the post-fight test. So what could you have possibly taken that would have an effect on you in 1 hour? That's what USADA's reasoning for, like, this just doesn't make sense. Why would he take something that would not actually benefit him in the fight?
The masking agents probably wore off.
Yeah.
And then he got the positive test, and then he took some more masking agents afterward.
They are getting better at this, JP.
Because a lot of the guys now, they don't even come up positive for what the actual PED they're taking. It's all the shit that's there to mask it or thin it out or whatever. He could have been,
I understand.
or we don't 100% know. The problem is when you create a track record, then it's like it's hard.
Yeah, but the cocaine, people bring up the cocaine. That shouldn't even count. You should be allowed to do cocaine.
Yeah, but he popped for some shit that was quote unquote inside dick pills.
Yeah, it was estrogen blockers.
Exactly.
Yeah, those are in dick pills.
Probably using it as a masking agent.
Or he just really likes some gas station dick pills.
There's stories of him hiding under the ring.
That's the best story. Yeah, but it is coming from Chael Sonnen. Come on.
I'm probably hiding under there with Holly Holm.
Hey, you don't talk about it. She's a goddamn angel.
I love Holm. But yeah, that's why Connor's gonna win. Like,
that's why he's gonna win.
Listen, you guys are just give him his credit. He has one of the best resumes in MMA. Just say it.
Right. He has a great resume.
One of the best resumes in MMA.
He has a very good resume in MMA.
See, that's how I can tell you're a hater, because you won't admit that. Yet you can't bring somebody to the table that has a better resume.
Fucking Khabib Connor is gonna be like Conor Alvarez. Check this out and quote me on this. Most of the fight, at least early on, you can remember, is gonna take place against the cage. There's not gonna be some quick takedown or shit. He's gonna fucking smother that Irish motherfucker on the cage.
Here's a question, because this is something that hasn't brought up. Not that it'll affect the fight itself, but how crazy is it going to be in that arena when you got the Irish and Khabib? Is he straight Russian, or is it like Ukrainian, or is he
he's from Dagestan? I don't know where that is.
I think he repped
Kazakhstan or something.
No, it's Dagestan.
So he's bringing in like it's going to be like a damn soccer game hooligan shit.
Yeah, it is. I love seeing all the Conor, like Irish people in the crowd. It's pretty impressive. Like, there's that one shot where he's like, I forget where it was, where he was fighting. It was on the prelim. It was like, he wasn't like a big deal yet, I don't think. It might have been a main event of like a fight pass card or some shit. But when he says, we're not just here to take part, we're here to take over, and then it shows the shot of the crowd, and it's fucking just a sea of Irish flags, and you're like, Grah! It's one of my favorite shots in MMA, just because I love that intensity, that just barbaric nature of it. But I'm curious to see weigh-ins. This is huge. A lot of people aren't talking about the weigh-ins yet. Khabib can lose this fight by having a bad weight cut, and we know how he is with weight. Conor will be fine, because Conor he's always made weight, right? He's looked like death on the scale, but he's always made weight. One of his 145 fights is one of the most disgusting weight cuts I've ever seen. He just looks like straight skeleton. His head's so big because his neck is like fucking, skinny as shit from cutting weight, and it's just fucked up. But Khabib has had massive trouble making weight. What happens if he doesn't make weight? What do you think they do?
Depends how much weight he misses by. I would almost say if it's like within a pound or two, there's no way they're not going to sell the fight. They would probably just make it non-title, possibly. I mean, I don't think
they would have to make it that Conor can win the title, right?
Is it in Vegas?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. Well, they're going into this fight as because Khabib kind of won the interim title, so he's considered.
Well, Khabib's champion right now,
okay. But then they have to make it a title fight. So I don't know. I mean, maybe it would just be a fine. I mean,
they do have done that thing where one person can win the title, but the other can't.
Yeah,
but he still has it. But do they? I think they strip it. They would have to strip it, right? I feel like if you miss weight, you get stripped.
Yeah.
It should be. You shouldn't miss weight as a champion. I think Khabib will make weight. You would imagine that people would be all over him about it from day one. I think he'll be fine with that, but he could be like drained, which could affect the fight.
I mean, you say that, but you're like, sometimes you're like, well, he has to do that, and that'll never happen again. But then you see what happened when John Jones beat DC the second time, and the exact same fucking thing happened.
What?
Fucked everybody over.
Nuh-uh. What are you talking about? Listen, dude. You guys just deny Jones because you don't like him. That's the only problem.
I think if Khabib misses weight, they strip him and give Conor the opportunity to fight for the title.
But would they have him fight Khabib still, or do you think they would pull Ferguson or?
Didn't they say Pettis is like a villain?
See, Pettis. I feel like if they do Pettis, that's an easy win for Conor, though. You don't think?
Well, whether it's, yeah, I mean, I think Pettis his best days are gone.
I do too. He was a phenomenal fighter, and he looked like somebody who was going to go on like a hot streak and be like this huge dominant champion, but it just didn't happen.
They named a summer event after him.
Dude, he's on the cover of the Wheaties box, and then boom.
There's the wild card factor, the fact that it would be like a last minute fight, and Pettis does, at least to Pettis's credit, he kind of has like one of those dynamic attacks where like he just does all sorts of weird shit that's hard to plan for. So there'd be a wild card aspect to it, but overall, I would still.
Wouldn't that be weird if we wake up on Sunday and Anthony Pettis is our UFC champion? Again. That'd be weird, right?
They're going to sign Ben Henderson again and be like, let's have another fight with Pettis.
Yeah.
I think Tony beats Conor too. He ankle picks him.
I think Tony is Conor's toughest fight.
Because he ain't going to shoot. He's going to fucking ankle pick him like he says.
Tony has the stand up to fight Conor. Like he does, and then he has the speed to match Conor. But on top of that, has like slick. If Conor and Tony fight, Tony is probably gonna Darce choke Conor.
Yeah.
If he stops kicking wood poles or whatever.
Dude, did you guys watch his interview? His scrum?
Watch Embedded. This motherfucker standing on a ball.
Dude, listen, you gotta watch his scrum, dude. He literally says, like, this is a rat race, but I'm a turtle. A ninja turtle, matter of fact.
This is a rat race.
What's your favorite? Mine's Michelangelo. He likes pizza and skateboards. Next question.
I was trained by
It's the weirdest thing. He is such a weird dude, man. He is so weird. That interview is so bizarre. He says the most weirdest shit in that interview. And he's like mad at the press the whole time. He's like, how about we turn these cameras around? Maybe ask yourself some questions.
He's so fucking woke. He's on a new level of woke.
He's crazy.
He's transcended. He's like,
but y'all just call that cringe. Y'all just call it cringe.
he's Videodrome.
Oh boy. He's like, some dude's like, hey Tony, why do you think the Mexican American fans do not support you? And he's like, you're not even Mexican. You shouldn't answer that question. He's like, next question.
Is that even a fact that they don't support? Like, how did they?
I don't know. I think he mentioned that before. I think he mentioned that he doesn't really have the support of his own. Which was funny because actually in this interview he's like for some reason my people don't support me. He's like, maybe you have to have an accent for him to support you, because he's talking about Conor. And I'm thinking, like, you kind of do have an accent, dude. you're Mexican American. You have a little bit of a Spanish accent.
It's kind of like you, Mexican Irish.
Yeah,
it's kind of funny.
But
looking Ferguson, man.
Yeah, so that's why Conor's gonna win the fight, because of Ferguson's interview.
Conor's losing, but it's all good. What was that,
man?
Oh, Felice, my girl Felice fights.
Who? Oh yeah, let's look at the rest of the card. We didn't even do that.
Right. I think.
So we got the co-main event for UFC 229 is, because this is a good card throughout. The co-main event, Tony Ferguson, Anthony Pettis. Who's going to win that fight? I'm saying Tony.
Yeah.
Let's see. Oh,
Pettis did look good in his last fight against Case. I thought Case was going to beat him.
I think Case is kind of garbage.
Yeah, but he was better than like this is. I thought that like this was the moment where Anthony Pettis was going to fall into gatekeeper status. Was this Case a fight? And he proved me wrong. So he's still like a viable contender as of right now. He hasn't completely sunk yet.
Yeah, I think Tony takes it.
I think Ferguson's he's an all-around beast.
It's a great style matchup though, because they both have like crazy like striking. right? Like Showtime kick, versus like Tony's like crazy fucking.
Yeah, I mean, like I was saying earlier, with the style that Pettis kind of applies to fights, he's always going to have that kind of outside chance regardless of the opponent because he's going to throw stuff at you that you weren't training for. But Ferguson's a beast. I think if you kind of game plan, keep your distance, and apply his game plan, I think he'll catch him and put him out probably.
Yeah. All right. So what do you think about OSP versus Dominic Reyes?
OSP is disappointing.
What do you mean?
He is ups and downs, man. He knocked out Shogun, then he goes on and loses to Derek Brunson or somebody.
Yeah, I mean, OSP, he's another one of those fighters where, like, he hits the scene kind of like with a bang, and then like sometimes it has to do with just like good marketing by UFC, where like they have you convinced that some fighters' trajectory is just going to go up, 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 and because they get they have a impressive first couple fights, and then they just end up trading wins and losses. And
I thought OSP was extremely overrated, and then it seemed like
we're not
went on that long lose streak after John Jones, then he got KO'd by Jamie Monwa, and then he lost to the GOAT Vulcan. Then he won like 3 in a row. Then he lost to Yair Latifi by guillotine, and then he last beat Tyson Pedro. What's that?
Latifi?
Yeah.
That guy's a tank.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't know.
Is there anyone still in the chat?
Yeah, we have the same guy in the chat still commenting. It is Ryan OG, Ryan Dog.
What's his prediction for Connor? And
he wants Khabib to win because he's a fake. But bummer Mighty Mouse lost the belt. No, thank God that Mighty Mouse lost the belt. Thank heavens. Let's see. Al Kakui's a beast. I agree. His interview today was funky. Yeah, and then betted he was on that ball. Comments YouTube, we kept calling him the Cringe Master 5000, aka King Cringe. It's so true.
I don't even know why I can't see the chat. I can see the group chat thing sidebar.
You have to pop it up on YouTube. You have to like actually go click on my video and then like pop out the chat. It's kind of annoying how they have it set up. And then you have, what else you got? You have Derrick Lewis versus and Alexander Volkov.
Oh man, I know we're gonna go into predictions, but every time I hear that name, I only think of Vitaly Minakov.
That's because they fought each other.
Do what?
They fought each other.
Yeah, but he's like the best heavyweight not in the UFC.
Vitaly?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's undefeated, like 20 something to know.
Yeah, he was in Bellator, but there was some contract disputes. That's why they're having this heavyweight Grand Prix.
God damn it.
Yeah, they should get him. Minakov has a win over Volkov. But
so do you want to do a sidebar on Mousasi's absolute ass kicking of Rory?
Dude, that was some. I did not expect that at all. I thought Rory was going to win that fight easy.
He did that fucking Wonder Boy roll again.
What's that?
He did that Wonder Boy heel hook roll thing.
Yeah, what do they call that?
Failed.
There's a name for it.
The failure of Rory.
The something Baja roll or something like that.
That's a Baja Blast, bro.
The Rory.
No, but seriously, he got his ass beat like bad. It was crazy. I didn't expect that. Gegard won every single second of that fight. I think he got hit like one time.
Did he break his nose again?
I don't know. Rampage destroyed Wandy again.
I mean, Vanderlei has no chin anymore. He's one of the most entertaining fighters in his prime.
Yeah, I mean they paid a lot of his opponents not to fight back, so it would make sense that he would have a good highlight reel of KOs.
People are listening to this in like 2019, 2020. You listen to this fucking guy. He doesn't go back and watch Pride fights. He doesn't know.
What are you talking about, dude? Listen, people say Pride never died, but I say fucking Pride always lied, is what I'm saying.
Oh, man. Bars.
Listen, dude, Pride was suspect as fuck. Watch those fights. Half of them look fake.
I only seen one fake fight, and that was with
Okay, so you admit there was a fake fight.
Everyone knows that was fake.
Well,
Even
he's
Boss Rutan on commentary
clearly said that it was fake.
Boss Rutan on commentary was calling it. He's gonna do this right now.
they like even Hendo. I was reading an old interview with Hendo. He said that they would like intentionally stack the deck against opponents by like not telling them about the fight, but telling the other person that that's who they were fighting like months in advance so they could prepare for them. And then last minute, like 10 days before the fight, tell the other opponent who they're fighting. That's probably how all of Fedor's fights were. Everybody's like, oh yeah, you're going to be fighting this giant, submission guy who's like this little Asian. And it's like, oh, by the way, 5 days before the fight, you're actually fighting Fedor.
No, they probably just, when they got told they were fighting Fedor, they were mentally checked out already because they knew.
Yeah, because they saw the luster of his fucking 20-fight fake winning streak.
What the hell are you talking about? You're ridiculous. You're goddamn ridiculous.
What are you talking about, dude? Listen, I know you guys grew up watching WWE and stuff. This makes sense. That you
are a WWE fan right now. You're questioning everything.
Listen, like, go look into it. Start reading into the suspect, the way that there was they encouraged you to use steroids.
Sit the fuck up, you motherfucker.
Yeah, as opposed to the guys that do it now that aren't encouraged, but they do it anyway.
Yeah. And I don't know, like Fedor is suspect, Pride's suspect.
Tell me OSP wasn't paid, bro.
How come every guy who came out of Pride, who was a long-standing guy over there, sucked when they got to the UFC?
Because they were in fucking wars.
And they were battle worn.
Shogun sucked.
Well, he was coming
broke his arm.
Surgeries.
Fedor sucked.
When Shogun fought Bones, it was like, oh yeah, Shogun's back after 2 years and knee reconstructions. But I promise you, it's the Shogun from 5 years ago.
Randall sucked.
Dude.
The only person who was good was Rampage Jackson, and he wasn't even the best over there. So that's telling you something.
Well, Rampage was good in UFC, but once he like hit the wall, he hit it fast because these guys were all battle worn by the time. Because if you
Rampage is one of the greatest fighters in UFC history, by the way. Let me just put that out there. Well, and the reason why is Rampage is still competitive to this day. Like maybe not against the best of the best, but he's not like, look at anybody else who's from Rampage's era. They're all chinny. Rampage isn't even close to chinny. Like when's the last time Rampage is knocked out? Pride, probably. You know what I mean? It's pretty crazy, dude.
Rampage really, he kind of avoided like devastating knockouts. Like he would get TKO. Like he's been TKO'd. I think that's how Vanderlei beat him.
Yeah, with knees. I know Pride. I've watched Pride stuff. I've watched all the fake stuff.
Hey, I know you've hit up Spike Network highlight shows, but it's not the same.
That does sum up JP, the Spike Network MMA guy.
What are you talking about?
Like
Here's the difference between me. I came in this shit with half the amount of time as you guys, and I'm already twice ahead of you guys. That's the problem right here.
JP is like the guy that reads the Wikipedia page. Is like, I know it all.
Oh. He has to edit it just to make sure it's completely right his way.
Spike.
But no, Rampage. Like I was watching him. Man, he looked huge. By the way, like I don't think he's ever going back to light heavyweight.
That's been one of Rampage's Achilles' heels his whole career is he doesn't fucking train. Like
no, he doesn't. He's lazy and he likes pizza. Like yeah, but he is like he should not have been as good as he was when you.
Well, that's the thing. He got by his raw talent. And once in a while, he would really put in the effort. Like you could tell, usually at the weigh-ins, like his physique, when he was taking it 100% serious, and when he was like, "Eh, whatever happens, happens."
Yeah, Rampage could literally not train at all and walk into a fight and do good.
My brother-in-law met him at the airport once.
Was he nice?
He was nice. He actually stole his seat on accident because he didn't realize he was sitting there. And my brother-in-law went back to his seat, and Rampage was like, "Oh, I'm sorry, man. Did I steal your seat?" And then he was like, "Yeah, but I know who you are. I ain't gonna try to take it." Took pictures together and stuff. So he was nice. He comes off.
I like
really cool dude.
He could come off really nice or really dick. Sometimes it just depends.
Well, see, I miss the old days when he would wear the werewolf mask because, like, he always does like the werewolf howl when he wins. But he actually used to wear the werewolf mask when he walked out. But he stopped doing that, I think, once he got to you.
I remember hearing an interview with Rashad when they fought, and he's like, I was standing in the cage, and Rampage just kept stopping every like 10 seconds to howl, and it was like taking forever. But yeah, so that happened in Bellator. They're already talking about doing a Wandy versus Rampage 5.
Retarded, man.
No, I'd say let's do it.
I mean, if one of them wants to die in the ring, I guess, but
yeah,
Vanderlei ain't killing anybody.
Well, Vanderlei, he's gonna like literally have his chin knocked off the next time he gets KO'd because that fool. I mean, that's the I guess unfortunate thing about guys who stay in the game too long is once that chin goes, especially for a guy like Vanderlei Silva, where his fight game is based on brawling, and exactly standing in the middle of the ring and I'm gonna KO you before you KO me. Well, that ain't happening anymore for you, Vanderlei. Like it was a great run.
I mean, he got pretty lucky against Brian Stan. And that was like 5 years ago.
It's one of my all-time favorite fights.
It was a good fight.
I mean, yeah, Vanderlei during his prime, he was probably like one of the top feared fighters just because of how vicious he was. And he had that epic, before he went to Pride in UFC, he had that epic fight with Tito in UFC that people forgot about.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. When you're that type of fighter, once your chin goes, it's like, dude, call it a career because there's no reason for you to be getting KO'd at this age,
And look where Vanderlei came from.
Dude, did you guys see Big Nog or Little Nog beat fucking Sam Alvey, like KO'd him? That was crazy. I did not expect that. He literally looked like a decrepit skeleton in there. I was like, dude, he's gonna fall apart at any minute. You know what I mean? But he somehow won against all. I was like, as soon as he won, I was like, please retire, please. Of course he did, but
well, I mean, what do you think about the upcoming Chuck Tito fight? That's crazy.
This is Tito's like best opportunity in history to beat Chuck.
No, Tito's gonna win.
I think so too. I'm putting my money on Tito. Tito hasn't looked terrible in any of his last fights.
Well, that's because I think too, because Tito's style of fighting is more.
He never took damage. When did he take damage? Chuck.
Yeah. Well, and the fact that Tito is grappling based, wrestling based, it's more sustainable for when you kind of are over the hill.
Yeah.
Chuck, he's punch drunk now too. I mean,
dude, think about this. He was like way past his prime, like 10 years ago when he fought Rich Franklin. And that was like 10 years ago. You know what I mean? Dude, that's insane.
And all it took was one like quick hook for it to be just all gone from Rampage.
Yeah.
And after that, he was getting touched.
Rampage, and then
I think the Rashad Evans one was the nail in the coffin, dude. That was brutal.
Devastating.
Yeah, that was I think that's one of my favorite knockouts of all time. It was so fast. It was just one of the fastest, looked like a damn Cobra strike,
What that fight also showed was the difference between MMA strikers that throw haymakers and Rashad, who actually had amateur boxing background that throws straight punches, and those are quicker. If you throw your punches straight at a dude, you might be giving up some power because you're not, throwing that wide haymaker, but they're gonna beat a haymaker.
So they're faster. Yeah, it's quick. It's a direct point of
because if you watch the replay of that KO, Chuck was actually in the process of landing.
Yeah, he almost hit him. Yeah, it was like Rashad's landed just a little bit quicker.
Almost similar to the McGregor Aldo KO. If you look at Aldo, he was in the process of landing a haymaker too, but Connor just timed it. And I think that's, you notice guys with amateur boxing backgrounds, they don't always have the better power, but their timing and understanding of fundamentals of striking is usually better.
Yeah, that was one of my favorite fighters for a while was Rashad. I think that he really kind of just something happened. I don't know. I think it was more mental than anything. Like I think when he lost to Lyoto Machida, it just he lost a big part of him. And
he was overcome
really
by the wave of the Machida era, though. That's why.
Well, dude, the Machida era literally was as long as that fight. That was the Machida era.
Rashad also got I'm strikeritis, which happens to a lot of fighters when their base is not striking, but they get a couple KOs because
like that KO head kick against some dude that nobody's ever heard of that he
had
a heavyweight.
Then they decide going forward, I'm going to totally abandon my wrestling base and I'm just going to stand.
Yeah, I hate when that happens because like let's not forget who brought you to the dance. You know what I mean? Rousey, she started believing her own hype that she was a striker all of a sudden. I blame Tarvadian for that fucking dumbass.
Head movement.
No, dude, head movement Ronda was unbeatable.
No, she was. That was like the worst Ronda.
No, that was Ronda not head moving. That's why he's telling her head movement because she forgot to do the head movement.
Oh yeah, head movement. And no.
Dude, when you like one of my favorite things that the UFC does is the thrill of victory, the agony defeat thing that they do, where they put the camera in the corners of the fighters as the loss happens or the win happens, and the two perspectives of one side being like, yeah, and then the other being like, ah.
Fucking cold blood when you really think about it.
No, Jose Aldos was the best when he got KO'd by Conor because they knew how much it like I think that's one of the biggest things about Conor. Obviously, we talked about the mental game. He literally, like, people go into the fight like, oh, fuck this dude. But as time goes on, as the buildup happens, they start thinking like, wow, this would really suck to lose to this guy. You know what I mean? And that's when the first seed's planted. Best example is Dustin Poirier. He was so confident when that fight got announced. And as time went on, if you watch his history of interviews from the MMA Hour to Bloody Elbow to all the way closer to the fight, the embeddeds, something changed in him. He got way emotional. Watch the embeddeds from that Poirier fight. It was really crazy how that whole thing played out. Like Conor got in his head 100%.
What changed in him was McGregor poisoned his food.
Yeah.
Well, that's why the build up to both Diaz fights was so entertaining, because Diaz was like his first opponent that he really didn't give a fuck about Conor's like talking game, and he could give it right back, and it was pretty off the cuff, and it was just entertaining. So
I think that if you
awesome.
One thing about that though, if you listen to that first press conference when the opponent was switched from RDA, Diaz really doesn't sound confident that he's going to win. He's actually like saying a lot of like, I don't care if I lose type things. And I was like, that was weird coming from him. So I think he really just had nothing to lose in that fight. He just didn't care too. But
you mean he wasn't going to lose that fight?
Hey, I picked him to win. I thought he was definitely going to win.
I don't think that's true, because if you want that guy that you're talking about, that's the lead up to the what's his name, the Punk, Josh Thompson fight. That was Nate Diaz not giving a fuck, like, not even caring if he wins or loses. He went in bad shape and then got fucking head kicked.
That's probably the most brutal Diaz fight to watch, like up there with Benson Henderson in terms of just being like not in it at all.
That's Nate not caring.
Yeah, I think he felt like that against RDA too.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah. I think he pissed when he got fucked by Clay Guida back in the
I wish he would just like if Nate Diaz like took shit seriously ever in his life, he would be like just on another level. I don't know. He just has a different mindset.
I think both Diaz brothers, if they went into fights more game planning to use their jiu-jitsu and not just kind of like, because they're really good at the ground, but they almost use it as like a back pocket option where
when somebody takes them down, it's not like something offensively used, it's like a defense thing.
Yeah, it's like, well, if the fight happens to hit the ground, okay, I'll do my jiu-jitsu. But it's like, dude, your guys' jiu-jitsu is hella good. You
Yeah.
should be looking to make that a focal point of your strategy, not just I'm gonna.
They literally take fighting as if it's like a street fight, like somebody like on the playground, like someone's squaring up with you. You know what I mean? You're in front of all your boys, like you gotta, like that's literally how they fight.
Where they're old, where they see wrestling as like a transition, not like an actual.
Yeah,
It's a hard thing to explain because like they kind of have laid out their opinion on it, but it's like, how do you paraphrase a Diaz statement? You know.
dude, I hope that the Bellator Danzin bullshit fucking fails because I couldn't stand that thing.
I heard a lot of people talking shit about it.
It sucked. I tried to buy the app whenever they were doing it. I wasn't even going to, and that card was so stacked. I was like, man, I kind of want to see what happens to these fights. So I was like, fuck it, you know, there's a free trial, I'll take the free trials, whatever. And then it was like freezing, wouldn't let me in and stuff. It was bullshit. I watched it like a couple days later. We did get the first winner of the bracket of their side of the bracket for the welterweight tournament, which was Douglas Lima, beat Crazy Eyes Koreshkov.
Crazy eyes.
That look at his eyes, dude. That dude is on some drugs.
Douglas Lima is a world-class welterweight.
Unless he fights Ben Askren.
That's anybody though.
I like Ben Askren. I wish he would be in the fucking UFC already, man.
I'm gonna roll.
Why don't you like one?
What, because I tried to buy an Askren fight once and it was freezing and they didn't give me my money back.
I'm gonna roll over to my left to grab a drink really quick.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, that's why I said fuck one, because I bought one of their fights one time because I wanted to see Askren
You're
fight.
machine gun petty from now on. Fuck you.
Fuck that, dude. It didn't work, and I wasted money, dude. At least when Invicta fucked up back in the day, they gave me my money back.
They didn't refund my money too.
Yeah.
Invicta was fucking so good.
Back then, it's really fallen off.
You bought it through Ustream and they would fuck up all the time. They'd give you your money back. I loved it.
Yeah. The first couple were on YouTube though.
Yeah, they were.
Free. But so he moves on. So you still got, what is that? Pale Ale. I had Shock Top.
Okay.
Belgium wheat.
Pretty standard out here out of Chico, California.
But I think that the tournament's pretty cool. But I mean, is Rory still in there?
Yeah.
That's pretty crazy.
Yeah, that fight didn't mess with that.
Okay, so
that's how badass Fedor was. He was champion inside tournaments and still never lost.
Dude, Hendo destroyed him.
That was in Strikeforce. I'm talking about in the Pride Grand Prix.
No, see, the problem with late career Fedor was he.
Okay, but late career Fedor is still career Fedor. That's what you guys forget about in the GOAT conversation. It's the entire career.
I understand, but okay, look at his fight against Verdum and Henderson. His two flaws in those fights is he overestimated.
One, it was in America where he couldn't cheat.
He overestimated how much his opponent was damaged because he dropped Verdum and then he stupidly put his arm out and then Verdum submitted him against Henderson. He was bombing on Henderson, and then Henderson did roll out, and then it was awesome by Henderson.
That KO was awesome because Hendo like snuck his hand. I watched that live. Hendo, see, you guys forget I watched MMA for a long time too, dickheads. I was around for Strikeforce, and he went under him and caught him on the chin. It was fucking badass, dude. Yeah. I loved Strikeforce back in the day. Strikeforce was mad fun.
I think Henderson's another one of those names where like people don't think of in the GOAT status, but if you just look at his list of opponents,
I think of him in the GOAT status. The only problem is he hasn't won a UFC title. That was the biggest problem.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he won the Grand Prix in the better organization at the time, Pride, when he knocked out Vanderlei.
But Vanderlei wasn't that good, so what does that really do for you?
Well, he was coming off a knockout loss to Crow Cop.
So here's the thing. I consider GOAT I don't consider Hendo like GOAT, but Mount Rushmore maybe, maybe one of those guys. Yeah. Hendo is a favorite fighter of mine. I think he was on my top 10 maybe even top 5 favorite fighters when we did that a while back, Luis. But when you talk about the tournament format, I love it. That's why the PFL this month is starting its playoffs, which is really exciting to me because I don't know if you guys caught much of the PFL as they was airing, but those events were great.
I'm keeping up with it. I haven't watched any full cards or anything, but
now's the time to watch them because these ones are the 2 fights in one night thing.
I love the story of Ray Cooper III.
Yeah, it's probably one of the better things.
Brother Cooper, man. He beat the guy who beat his dad, Jake.
Now he gets to beat him again.
That's kind of fun.
That's like straight martial arts movie plot right there.
Yeah, yeah. No, it is. It's cool, and he seems pretty good too. So I never heard of him before this tournament.
He ain't passing the USADA test.
But so you got that tournament going on, and you have the tournament in Bellator, 2 tournaments still. What do we have next? Chael and Fedor?
That's this month.
So is Chael beating Fedor?
I don't think so, but I wouldn't. This is old man Fedor we're talking about.
Yeah, but again, here's the thing.
Natural
Fedor. Natural Fedor versus the unnatural one in Pride.
He's always been natural. I'm saying in contrast to Chael Sonnen, who's on all the HGH.
But no, so like I think
Sonnen?
that sometimes you need to factor in late career even more than.
Then how the fuck do you put John Jones in this shit? He doesn't even have a late career
because he's had so much done already, and it hasn't even been late career.
He's gone 4 years fighting one time, bro.
What he meant was he's had so many PEDs done to his system.
Yeah.
And also, you guys know that I don't give a fuck about PEDs when I talk goats, because here's the thing, right? I can't prove that GSP never took PEDs. Yeah, he never failed a test, but how can I say with certainty that he didn't? You see what I'm saying?
I think by USADA standards, everyone was on some kind of PED. But steroids, I don't think a lot of guys were on steroids, unlike the Diaz brothers. I don't share their opinion. For the most.
I don't know. I think that most people pre-seat USADA were on shit.
Yeah, like RT.
That was such a weird thing when that was going on, man. It gave us some good fights though. TRT Vitor was like the best. He was like, scary.
Vitor, man.
VTRT.
That TRT Vitor.
Remember when Fedor got knocked out by Fabio Maldonado?
He wasn't knocked out. I mean, he was.
He got his ass beat.
That's a warrior right there.
How do you not call that cheating? How can you not call that cheating?
Oh my god! What is
his ass beat and wins the fight?
Well, okay, let's go back to Fedor Sonnen. Let's try to.
Yeah.
I mean, old Fedor or not, where would you say Sonnen present? Because like
the only thing he could do, and I don't know if he could do this to Fedor, but just hold him down.
I mean, Sonnen can wrestle. I wouldn't doubt that Sonnen can take him down, but Fedor has a ground game. I think what's missing from Sonnen's game that has messed up Fedor late in his career is dudes that can throw. And Sonnen's not. I'm not saying he's incapable of striking at all, but I don't think he presents a danger. So if you look at what Sonnen's game is, he's gonna have to like get inside on Fedor. He's gonna have to take punishment. And even if he gets Fedor down, Fedor has a guard and he has a submission game.
I actually think it's a hard fight for Sonnen.
My matchup wise, I think I would agree, because
what if Fedor wins the Bellator Heavyweight Grand Prix?
Then he's the GOAT.
Does that do a lot for his legacy?
Then you're going to find him on a UFC main event in 2019 because
he will never fight in the UFC.
You know how Dayton loves to bash fighters outside of the UFC, and then like when he's pressing for a main event fill-in, I got to go sign this guy I've been bashing for.
Yeah, but he should bash Fedor. Fedor was always avoided in the UFC. I didn't like it.
Dude, if he wins the tournament, he'll win 2 major tournaments in MMA history.
It would be pretty sick, but I mean, either Matt Metrione or I mean, I think that
Ryan Bader winning.
I think that Ryan Bader, if Matt Metrione beats Ryan Bader, I think Fedor and Fedor beats Chael, that's probably Fedor's best, road to the win.
Yeah.
Is to fight Matt Mitrione again, because he did have a chance to win that fight.
Yeah.
That's what disappoints me about old man.
It's one of those coin flips. Like those type of fights are coin flips, man.
The problem is like when you, regardless of what Fedor his skill set, when you watch him fight now, he just doesn't look like the same fighter. Like his approach, he gets in a way. He fights a lot more reckless than he used to. He's slow. He used to have that straight right hand that he didn't even have to set up. His lead right punch was so quick that you couldn't game plan for it, because it wasn't like a traditional where you set it up with your left hand jab and then you hit the right. He would have that lead right that guys could not get out of the way of. And it took so many guys by surprise when it landed on their chin. He can't do that anymore. He's just slow. And sometimes when your speed goes and your chin goes, it's like there's no getting those back. And I think it leaves him a more vulnerable fighter than he was in his prime.
What bugs me is the Chael Sonnen Rampage fight, because he decisioned Rampage, who's a big, strong motherfucker.
Well, I think
but Rampage also isn't crafty at all on the ground. Like Fedor definitely has a better ground game than Rampage. Like Rampage has no ground game.
I think Sonnen's path to victory against Fedor is train on avoiding submissions and try to.
But that's like Sonnen's kryptonite too, though. Is he does fall victim to easy submissions?
Yeah. Well, I think it's Sonnen's gonna employ the wrestle stall plan where like take him down, that bullshit where you're like appearing to like improve your position on the ground just so they leave it on the ground and they don't stand him up, and then hopefully he can have Fedor in the bottom position long enough during rounds to like win the round technically. But I don't see with how their skill sets match up, I don't see what other path Sonnen has to victory.
Yeah, me neither.
Even against old man Fedor.
And then in terms of the welterweight tournament, I did think Rory McDonald was a clear favorite to win it, but I mean, he's taking a lot of damage,
Dude,
before that. Now, even after Misasi, I don't know. Maybe Lima. Who else is in there?
Rory's face might be inverted now after
MVP. That's a good one. He might get it. He might win it.
I can't wait. Paul Daly and not Paul the MVP and Douglas Lima.
Yeah, but it's Paul Daly that he's fighting.
Yeah, but I think he beats Paul Daly.
Yeah, Paul Daly ain't nothing anymore.
CM Punk will be the surprise entrant.
John Fitch is in it for some reason.
What's that?
John Fitch is in that tournament.
And
John Boring Fitch.
He's gonna whoop his ass.
So anyway, who was gonna win between Derrick Lewis and Volkov?
That's a good question.
I'm going Volkov just because I think that tall and long is bad for Derrick Lewis.
Didn't he beat a tall, long dude in his last fight?
Ngannou.
Yeah.
If you want to call that fight.
That was an awful fight.
It was atrocious. All right, Black Beast it is. I want Lewis to win. That's my dude. Karate Hottie versus Lil Bulldog.
I always go with my heart.
Michelle.
Felice.
I'm telling Felice that you picked Michelle.
I think Felice is more scrappy. I think when you watch Watterson fight, I feel like she has like one of those limited skill sets where like
Watterson is not as good as everybody thought she was coming from Invicta.
Well, I think because she came in and she got like those wins, but she's almost like a poor man's Rousey where like she has that one skill set she's really good at, but when someone like takes her down on the ground, she has no clue what she's doing. And Herring, if I'm Felice Herring, I'm gonna like, kind of stand for a minute, maybe to distract, take her down, and just maul her. Because anytime Watterson gets taken down, she just gets mauled.
I don't think Felice can maul her. Felice doesn't have a whole lot of power in her strikes.
This should be an easy fight for Felice, honestly, dude.
No. I don't think it's going to be an easy fight. It might be a little bit of a boring fight.
I think Waterson's one of those fighters you root for because her style can be exciting just because like the striking can be exciting, but she's very vulnerable to anyone that has good takedowns and can keep her on the ground. She has like no defense against that.
And here's she has like this really crazy
kind of one-dimensional a little bit too.
Felice is yeah. But she has good balance. Anytime a chick tries to take her down, like in a body lock, she always
she does end up on top a lot. I've noticed that about her. Didn't she just lose one? She was on a streak and then she lost one.
That was what pisses me off.
Yeah, because she would have probably got a title shot
against Kowalkiewicz.
Yeah. All right. Preliminary cards: Serge Pettis versus Jussier Formiga.
Oh shit! Little Pettis is on this.
Yeah, Little Pettis and Big Pettis.
Forgot about that.
I'll go Sergio. He's 17-3. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah. Sergio is like when Mario gets hit in the game and he gets shrunk.
He's like just the smaller version of Mario. Yeah. He's just the smaller Pettis. They do look so much alike. He even has like the same facial hair. And I wonder if Felice is gonna be flirting with Pettis. She was all into him on the Ultimate Fighter.
That penis.
Sergio. What's that?
Sergio penis.
Vicente Luque versus Alan Turner.
He has no Wikipedia page.
Yeah. Then you got Tanya Evinger's on this card versus Aspen Ladd.
I don't like Tanya Evinger.
I like Tanya. She's funny.
She's
crazy. If you ever listen to her in an interview, she's like nuts.
Yeah, she likes kissing people after she pukes.
That was disgusting. But Scott Holtzman, Alan Patrick.
By the way, Aspen Ladd wins that fight.
Yeah, I agree. And Vicente Luque wins that fight as well. I'm bummed Sean O'Malley's off the card. That's terrible. And then, yeah, Lana Landsberg versus Yana Kunitskaya. I know the names, but I'm not really too sure. And then Nick Lentz, Gray Maynard. You know what's crazy? Gray Maynard only has 6 losses, but it feels like he has a lot.
They happen all at once, didn't they?
Yeah, pretty much. Well, he was on a long-ass losing streak. But he won his last fight, I think.
I think he did.
Nick Lentz. Nick Lentz is pretty big.
He was going to fight BJ, wasn't he?
I think so. I'll tell you what, man. I would go against Maynard, but after seeing what Diego Sanchez and another fighter did last event, Jim Miller, I expected both of them to die, and they both won. And Diego won impressively, and I was like, "What the hell is going on right now?"
Now Matt Brown wants to fight him again.
Really?
Yeah, he's all pissed off.
Matt Brown should just fight Diego 4 times.
Diego put a picture up on his Instagram of him punching Matt Brown, one of the only times he hit Matt Brown that fight. And Matt
that would annoy me a little bit. He'd be like, "Dude, I fucking killed you. Why are you posting that?" That's like, did you ever hear the story of Gabe Rudiger made a shirt with the silhouette of a fighter taking another fighter down or something, but the silhouette was Joe Lozon taking Gabe Rudiger down? Yeah, Gabe Rudiger had a shirt made from one of his fights, but it was a silhouette of a fighter taking another fight, scooping him into the air and slamming him down. But it was Gabe Rudiger who was getting slammed in real life, from the picture that it was taken from by Joe Lozon.
Why would he do that?
Yeah, well, no, maybe he didn't mean to.
It's like Michael Bisping walking around with a logo of him getting knocked out by Henderson.
Yeah, right. But yeah, anyway, I guess that's it. That was fun.
Yeah.
Any final words before you eat them?
Oh, did anyone check their clocks?
It's 1:13.
Oh, it's Khabib time.
I think Khabib's gonna lose, Hammy.
I think you might be wrong.
I don't know. Have you ever seen Khabib beat anybody? Have you ever seen Khabib beat anybody good?
Like Quinto.
All right, so predictions, round, decision. What are you going with for the main event?
I'll go little round 3 rear naked choke. Khabib.
All right.
5th round TKO Khabib.
I'm gonna go ahead and say round 1, 4 minutes in, Connor Mora. No, I'm kidding.
You sound just like one of the fucking Facebook nut huggers in the comments.
Connor the octagon.
I'm gonna say that Khabib face plants on the giant proper Irish 12 whiskey mat right in the center there. 4 minutes into round 1.
I call it overhand right KO by Khabib.
Dang.
All right, I hope you guys.
That's a bold prediction of all of us.
Yeah, that's pretty bold, Lewis.
And accurate.
All right, see you guys next time. Thank you for watching.
All right, bye, fuckers.
Yeah, MMA Cast episode number 229.
We'll see you in 6 months when we do this again.
Yeah, the next Connor fight, right? Connor brings us out. Last time we did this, Connor's bust incident happened.
No. I want to do this all the time, and then JP doesn't want to.
No, it's because your schedule sucks. If you ever would just be around, we could do it.
Mike, we were gonna podcast one time, right? And he's like, "Oh, I forgot, I had stuff." And he went out with some fucking movie with Carly. This fucking guy, you can't trust anything he says.
Carly has pull.
Carly has pull.
Would you say, Luis, that I'm the pride of trusting?
I don't like what you just said.
Would you say I am untrustworthy as pride is untrustworthy?
Why don't you shut up, JP?
You guys keep believing in the false god of Fedor.
I'll be back.
Fedor Emelianenko sucks. All right, so later, guys.
All right.